everybody, welcome back to another video here on my channel. Today we are doing my November wrap up, also my very teeny tiny TBR for December because I feel like times have changed. Also, welcome to our dining room, living room. I'm sorry if these chairs are kind of annoying. I'm gonna try this setup up just a little bit because I have the nice big sliding door. We got rid of my treadmill, so we're able to kind of turn the table around. We have more space, and I'm just kind of looking for a little bit more light because soon we're going to lose a lot. Actually, we've already lost a lot of light because they're building houses probably about 30 feet that way. Also, the fact that my son is sitting literally a chair over from me but across from me, so if he makes any noise, it probably will be picked up a lot in this video because the camera and the mic and everything like that. I did really good with my TBR, I have to say, this month. For the most part, I read 75% of my TBR that I had. I read 3 out of the 4 books that I had on my TBR. It wasn't a lot of books. There was a few things that I didn't get to, or one book in particular I didn't get to. Surprise, surprise, literally. I want to first start off with the Renegades trilogy. I do have a reading vlog up for this video, so if you want to see any of my reactions or anything like that, it is up before this video. I just want to talk about these books. I absolutely love this trilogy as a whole. I feel like every single book was very good. It was just kind of one of those, it is YA, but it's a good break type series. I wasn't having to struggle to read it. It was very easy to read. It also was funny and not too 100% serious, but there were some things about it that were kind of serious. Each book was very easy to read. They were very fun. They were, I do believe, 4 to potentially 600 pages, but I was reading like 150 to maybe 250 pages a day. So I was flying by with these. I do recommend them. They're dystopian type superhero books, and for being my first series or book ever that Marissa Meyer has wrote that I've read from her, I feel like this was a great thing to start off with, and eventually I will get to the Lunar Chronicles eventually one day because I only have 3 of those. Now, I'm not necessarily going to talk about every single book or a lot about these books just because I don't want to necessarily spoil them, and also I do have that reading vlog. These aren't even in order, I just now realized. For some reason I didn't have them in order. We have Renegades, Arch Enemies, and Supernova, and my favorite out of the trilogy, I felt like the whole book was just jam-packed with stuff, and also the final book was just certain things were divulged, certain secrets were uncovered, and I was so intrigued to figure them out or to find out what actually went down and how they would potentially be okay with them. I felt like there were some cliche moments, but then otherwise there were some things that I did not see or some things that I forgot about, and while I was reading I was honestly scared or worried that something was going to happen, and then I realized, oh my gosh, there's a secret thing that protects a certain person, and I'm such an idiot for thinking that. I've seen a lot of great reviews because of the epilogue of this book. I'm not going to lie, I was confused for maybe like a page or two, not realizing it was in somebody else's point of view. I did like it, but I felt like also the ending wasn't up to what I had imagined, so I was a little disappointed, but in all honesty, I still loved it. All of them were 4 stars, and I'm glad I finally got this whole trilogy crossed off my list. Then I read 2 by 2 by Nicholas Sparks, and I have to say, going into this book, I thought it was basically about a father who was like a single father and he finds love. And I'm not necessarily wrong, but at the same time, it started off, I'd say about 200 to 300 pages. He was still with his wife. She ended up leaving him for her boss. I'm not gonna lie, I had moments in this book where I was struggling to read this because the female main character or the female character annoyed me so much. Normally from Nicholas Sparks, most of his books are 4 stars. Every Breath and Dear John are the only 2 books that I do not like at all from Nicholas Sparks, and this is one of the other ones. I rated this book 2 stars, and it was more so because of the female character. She just annoyed me. I don't know how to say it. There's certain things that I want to say, but I don't say certain things on my channel or online. And she was basically saying how she had to go get a job, and she fell in love with her boss because she had to go get a job because her husband almost got fired, so he quit. And so she was blaming him for everything. She was also blaming him for the fact that when she went out to go get some business suits, she picked the most expensive suits and they didn't have the money for that, and she didn't have a cap on her credit card, and they were stressing about money, and it was all his fault. It was never her fault, even though she was partly the reason. She was a lot of the reason. I struggle a lot with female characters a lot of the time because I feel like females are just over dramatic in real life and especially in books. And in this book especially, I could not connect to her, and I hated her. I'm not gonna lie, I really hated her. So this was a 2-star read for me. And the last book I actually read that was on my TBR was A Summer Affair by Ellen Hildebrand. Now, I don't know what it is about me. I knew this book was going to be morally terrible because obviously it's called A Summer Affair. But I honestly thought that they would find out about the affair, the husband at least, and that's not what happened. Basically, it was like this big long secret that is apparently to this day still kept a secret for the most part. I don't like that. I mean, I don't like anything, pretty much anything that's basically considered a sin. There are certain sins that obviously everybody sins. And I'm not saying I'm above sin. I'm just saying there are certain sins that no matter what will never be me, and affairs are the biggest things. Like anything cheating really bothers me. And in this book, the whole situation where it was basically like her boss, again, just like 2 by 2. It was like her boss. And I had 2 books that were putting me back to back with affairs or cheating. I wasn't in the mood. I'm not necessarily in a slump, but I definitely know that these 2 books did not help me at all. And I rated this book 3 stars. I had to listen to this book on YouTube on like an audiobook because I was struggling and I wanted to finish this book before the end of the month because I was pushing it. I was probably like 4 days out from the end of the month. And I was trying to finish it, but it was boring me and I was so upset with the main character. There were some good like plots or more so good sections of the book. It just took longer for me to get into this book and I was just struggling. And then of course with the whole not really having morals or not choosing to follow morals was really making me upset as well. So like I said, it was just 2 books back to back and I was just not having the time of my life. Out of my TBR, we had Renegades, 2 by 2, and also A Summer Fair that I wanted to have on my TBR. And the last book was After by Anna Todd. I did not get to that book. Like I said, I finished this book, I think a day before the month ended, and I didn't have time to even start and try and finish because it's like a 500-page book. And for whatever reason, it's just more on the back burner of all of my books. And I don't even know if it's because it's a whole series or if I just am not that interested in it right now. But I can tell you right now, this next month's TBR, I only have 1 book, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The only reason this is on my TBR is because I'm only 34 pages into this book. I started this book, I think the last day of November. It is the 7th of December. So for over a week, I've been trying to read this book. It is nothing about this book at all that's stopping me from reading it. Every time I pick it up, I do enjoy it. I've just been so busy here the last couple days, especially with like this last weekend. We had family out here and I just feel like for whatever reason, I'm not in a slump. I just don't feel like reading this month, even though it's the last month, and I wanted 5 other more books so I could read 10 extra books and be around 60 books read when my goal was only 25 for the year. But for whatever reason, I'm struggling to even want to pick up books. In my free time, if I am not cleaning and my husband is home, I'm either spending time with him because we've been on opposite schedules again for a while, or it's the fact that I've been sitting playing Red Dead Campaign again. So this is my only TBR and I'm so sorry about that, but that's kind of realistic. Some months you just have those months where you don't feel like reading fully. And this book is very interesting. Let me just tell you that. This book apparently, I think in the 1700s, Addie LaRue or Adeline LaRue, I do believe she sold her soul. If I remember correctly, she didn't want to be alone anymore or she didn't want to die or something like that. So she ended up selling her soul to the devil and she got what she wanted, but in return, nobody remembers who she is. Even if it's like they're with her for a minute and she turns around, goes around a corner, and then they don't see her, they'll immediately forget about her, or at least who she is and what she's doing there. I like the plot. I feel like that's a good plot. I don't know how it's going to turn around. I know she eventually meets somebody who does remember her. And the other thing about this book that I am loving, even though I have not honestly picked it up in like 3 days, I'm so sorry. But the other thing I'm absolutely loving is when I say the chapters are short, I mean that the chapters are short. This is one of the longer chapters. It was 4 pages, 5 pages long, 3 pages as well. A lot of the chapters have been around 2 pages long and I absolutely love that. I feel like it helps to read this book so fast, even though I have not read it and I'm only on page 34. Take that the way that you want to. That is my November wrap up, only 5 books, and also my December TBR, which is only 1 book and is very sad. At least we read 5 books. At least I also doubled my goal this year because I started so low and I kept it so low, and I'm very happy about that. Thank you all so much for watching this wrap up. As always, make sure to subscribe and I hope to see you all next week. God bless.